lay my head on the pillow, and I said, Lord, in this moment, I feel covered in every area of my life where it comes to my husband. Like, I know he has me in every area. Like, he just got me. And for the first time, I was able to really rest in God and just breathe, because I was like, I don't need a man. I mean, sexually, I needed a man, I really needed a man. But I'm so silly. But for the first time in my life as a married woman, like I let go and I breathed, you know, for the very first time. And I would do it all over again. Like, you know, I'm in this to win this.
Yeah, yeah. And
I would do it all over again.
and as you hear this, Ashley, one of the things that we were dealing with, and I know for Tiff that we didn't hear, was that she was trying to control a lot of things that didn't belong to her. You know, I'm still trying to figure out to this day, does she have a trash can gene in her or something like that? Because she worries about putting the trash cans out. Are they right? That's my job. Now my son's job, but that's our job. And she's always concerned about those things. So that 10-year period was about controlling different things that didn't require her to control. We were talking about that earlier about how she's in the chat, how she's this and that, because she, like I said, a lot of times she's aware of different things, but doesn't mean you always have to say something. Doesn't mean you always have to be a part of it. Sometimes you just have to be quiet. And that's where she started learning, because God can't do what he needs to do if you keep interfering. And that's what she was doing. She was interfering in me learning how to cover. Even if you don't agree with the things that I'm doing or what I want to do, let me do it, because that's the only way I'm going to learn. That's the only way we're going to grow together. So, we went through those things. And I would tell her all the time, you can't be the king and the queen. You can't be. You got to choose one. And,
I'm the queen.
And I know that, baby. You do it well. So, and that's what I wanted her to do. I wanted her to live and be in her flamingo queen all day, every day.
Nah,
No, yeah, I do. Because
you don't want me in my flamingo all day. I'm not.
Actually, I spent 10 years softening her up, okay? Because she grew up with 3 brothers. So, and I joke with her all the time, and with her parents, who I love dearly, that she was the 4th son. and this was because I challenged her, because I didn't take what other men took from her. That's where we was always continually butting heads. For that 10 years. And when she said she was ready to go, okay, I wasn't even thinking about it, because I knew God had us and had a plan for us. And I wasn't going to give up, at that point. And I knew that there were things in place for us to do. And it just proves the fact that we're sitting here right now in front of you, that we have a mission. We have a mission. And our mission is to show up as 2 people that are totally different from each other. And she hates to hear me say that, but we are.
We are different.
We are different. I mean, we could be talking about the same thing and still not be talking about the same thing. But heads on every and anything. But we've learned to navigate those things. We've learned to understand each other. We just have to know who we are.
Yeah, like just like Rick said, like we could be saying the same thing but interpreting it different. And it's just asking deeper questions and being patient. to allow the other person to
Mm-hmm.
really explain how they heard what was being said. So that is one of the tools that has been able to help us navigate in our communication.
Mm-hmm.
But actually, just what you do and your platform, like you are such a blessing to people and relationships and marriages. Like it is so important to have an Ashley J in your life, just to help you maneuver. Like having community is where it's at. I mean, it's a cliche, community where it's at, but having a community to help you win that's a powerful thing. It's so powerful. So we are just honored just to be here on your platform, and just what you do and stand for is such a blessing. It's a blessing to the kingdom. It's a blessing just to relationships, period, as a whole. And just thank you for what you do, because you add so much value.
Yeah.
And that's what I wanted to share as far as, having an Ashley J.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, I've been hearing it quite frequently lately. So thank you. Y'all don't know what it's doing, but thank you. So, okay, let me say this real fast. Guys, if you have any questions or comments, go ahead and get them in now, because time is ticking away. If you want your question or answered, or you want to see your comment across the screen, you need to go ahead and submit it. Okay. So I thank you guys so much for your transparency and just for being yourselves, because I'm sure that everybody that's watching and those who will watch later, they can see the connection between you guys. They can see how the hard work is paying off. Like y'all doing all of the things that is so important for marriages to succeed. I can definitely identify being at a place of being done. I'm not shy about saying this. My husband and I, we talked about getting divorced quite a few times in the beginning of our marriage. But every time we talked about it, God would be like, "You're not leaving. You gotta stay. Y'all are supposed to be here together." So I understand what it's like to, have to fight through that, even when you don't feel like fighting through it. When the fight is all out of you, I know what it is to be on my knees crying and asking God, please, like, you need to do something to him. And then God be like, but what we gonna do about you?
Yep.
Like
it was like, always
absolutely. Like I know all about that. So just to see how well you guys are doing, even when you guys were growing together, and then when you were growing together, you also lost together. Like that is amazing. And if nothing else shows your connection, to me, that does. And I'm gonna tell you why, because I'm looking at it with a different eye. I'm looking at it not just with my spiritual eye, but my therapy eye. When people can do that type of stuff together, it shows connection. It shows, like, regardless of what you guys think is happening, you are connected. And it's evident in the fact that you gained the same amount of weight, or you weighed the same, and you lost the weight, and you guys lost the same amount. Like that is way bigger than anything else to me. That's to me. So that's amazing. That's amazing, because you can't get couples to say, okay, we're going to do this thing together. You cannot.
Yeah.
It's difficult. So to see that you guys did that and saw new life after that is beautiful.
Yeah, like I thank God each day because I lost 66 pounds and Rick lost 122 pounds. He lost a whole person, a whole grown adult person. And you know, that brought such a newness to us. Like we had to really relearn each other. You know, we had to take the time to really and we literally took our time to, because losing that much weight does something mentally to a person as well. You know, just the way they think, the way they move, the way they talk, like all of that was just totally different. And and like Rick said, when he lost, he was able to get all of the negative noise he was hearing out of his head so that he can move in the way God wanted him to move. But you know, us just, you know, saving our family, you know, he was able to come off all his medications and stuff is non-treatable. Like it's you know, like God has really been moving in our lives, you know.
Yeah, but but also too, and what I want to say too, with for this journey for us, it put us in a place where when we had the hard decision to make, and it was with our son.
Yeah.
So at the time, when our son was not even born, we were told that we had issues, that he wouldn't make it.
The doctor said abort.
Yeah.
Really?
And so that's why we call him our miracle.
Yeah.
He's our miracle because he wasn't. Yeah. So, but even after we chose not to, and we brought him into this world, he had some challenges, and those challenges caused us to go through a lot of different things that could have broke us up. For me, I was in denial with some of the things that we were dealing with. And I tell, you know, people all the time, my wife, you know, she was the spearhead. She was the one that fought for him. And when we did finally find out what was going on with him, you know, a decision had to be made for him, whether we were going to put him on pharmaceuticals, you know, because he needed that. And this was being told by his doctor. And because if we weren't in the place that we were in physically, in the work that we had done physically, we wouldn't have been able to make that decision and say no to the pharmaceuticals. And we treated what we needed with him to help him with his challenges, you know, through nutrition. But we wouldn't have been able to do that because we were stressed out. We were going through, and it's been easy for us to say, hey, give us the prescription. Yeah. But this was like, what, 5 years ago? And we've been winning ever since. Straight A student. I mean, and this is the thing that we teach people, we coach people about how key nutrition is to everything that you're dealing with. You know, most doctors, when you go to a doctor, they don't ask you, what did you eat?
No, they don't.
You know, they just look at the symptoms and say, hey, take this prescription.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what's helped us to be able to, once we lost the weight, and then we had the mindset, this is going to become a lifestyle for us. And we're going to change, you know, everything that we can in our household, and how we eat and how we move and the water we drink. You know, we keep moving. We keep doing all these things, you know, to help us. But what it's doing is it's helping our marriage. And it's also showing people, because people are watching. People see what you do. And this is how we show up. And that's why we always show up. Like what you saw us do in the beginning. You know, the Teen Childs, that's what we do all the time, because that's who we are. You know, this is how we navigate life together. And it's times where we don't always show up happy. You know, I have this thing where, you know, am I the 8-year-old or is she the 4-year-old? And what that means is, you know, for me at 8 years old, I had a traumatic situation with my stepfather.
Yeah, so we can see your handsome face. Um, before he had the stroke, he had given me a list of all of his the passwords and such to all of the accounts that we had, because he set them all up. And once he set them up, he gave all that information to me. He said, here, you're going to need this just in case something happens. I had no clue that this would happen.
Wow.
But God knew.
Yeah.
And because God knew already, all I had to do was go there. And there they all the passwords to everything that I needed. It was right there. And I didn't skip a beat. You know, the things that we needed to do while he was in the hospital, you know, and then coming home. After coming home, it was like, okay, what do we do now? How do we now live?
Yeah.
You know, how do we express, you know, love and care for each other? I feel like this guy right here, we went to a conference last weekend, and the presence of God was just so thick and so heavy. And I remember one time one of the ministers had prayed for me, and as he had prayed for me, my husband was sitting. I know where he was. Where when I got up, he was sitting someplace. But by the time the person prayed for me, I hear in the back of my ear, "You okay, babe?" Because I don't know how he got to where he. But you were right there behind me. You were right there behind me. And you worshiped, and God really ministered to you over that weekend, didn't he?
Yeah. Worship is very important.
It is.
We all need to worship, and we need to experience God in every way that we can.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. In every way that we can experience the worship of God.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, Pastor Kevin, has your experience with God been different since you had the stroke? Is your mind more open to different experiences with experiencing God?
I don't think it's the stroke. I think it's really just been, it's life is living life.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's having the experiences of being with different people and doing different things. I mean, I've lived in Spain. I've did lots of things.
Mm-hmm.
And in all those places, you know, I experienced, you know, God's presence.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I've listened, I played with people at different things, and it's really being in the experience of being with people and doing what I do that I sense and sense God's presence.
Okay.
Do you think that your experience in worship now has become stronger and deeper?
Yes, it's just because I can relate. Obviously, I have a better knowledge of who God is now to me.
Wow.
To me, I mean, I can't talk about anybody else, but walking with God is an intimate thing.
It is.
It's intimate, meaning I don't know him the way you know him.
Right.
You don't know him the way I know him. But we all come to an experience where we get to know him in a special, intimate, close way that's beyond sex.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm married. I love sex, but I love God even more. And that's that's saying something right there.
That is.
It is. It is.
Because as much as I love my wife, I don't know what I would do without God.
Wow. Now that's it. Mic drop.
Yeah.
Mic drop, exactly, because he's my life.
Mm-hmm.
He's the air I breathe. I'm getting excited thinking about it.
Mm-hmm.
He's the life I breathe. Amen. Amen. I'll say it right there.
He's the sustainer of your life too.
I mean, I've been through so many things. I've traveled. I've been in Europe. I've done a bunch of things,
Mm-hmm.
and he's kept me.
Yeah.
And to have that kind of a relationship with him all of these years, and to know that, you know, God, you've been with me all this time. To all the people I've met, all the things I've done, you've kept me, you protected me, you've shown me things that I am so grateful. And I start thinking about it now, I get teared up. I'm so grateful for what God's done in my life.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing that's happened. I think once you turn 50, he turned 50, and all of a sudden, I'd never experienced a person that had become so sensitive to the Spirit of God.
Really?
Yes, as a worship leader, what's that thing? As a worship leader, it seemed like once he turned 50, and now he's going to be 62 this year.
Okay.
Be 62, and I'm turning 60 on Sunday. Yay!
Well, happy birthday.
Thank you. I remember that when he would lead worship, he would always say to the congregation, do you remember what you would say to the congregation? We're going
someplace.
Yeah. He would always tell them that. He said, this is a journey into the Holy of Holies. This is a journey into the presence of God.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember that there would be times that he would begin to speak, and that tears would just flow. And it's become more and more and more. It's just this, when he senses God's presence, it is overwhelming.
Yeah.
And I believe because of the fact that when he was in the hospital, some of the doctors, they're literally the ones that practice medicine, and they were looking by the books, and according to the books, there was, little to no chance of survival, little to no chance of him, getting any of his faculties to return, any of that.
Mm-hmm.
And those were the doctors I ignored.
Right.
Those are the doctors I'm like, nah, we're not going to talk to you. We're not going to have too much of a conversation with you. But the presence of God was just so, I had an iPad, and the iPad played worship music 24/7. I kept it plugged in, so that's all he could hear.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all we surrounded the space with, was the presence of God, because we know that God's presence makes the difference. And we also know that him as a worshiper, that's where he stayed. He stayed.
That's where he would respond.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. That was his response. And I forgot the way I was going with that, but so I'll just leave it right there.
Okay. So when the doctors would come and talk to you, kind of updating you on what they're doing or what they're trying to figure out, would you step outside of the room and talk to them, or would you allow them to talk inside the room?
Well, what happened was the doctors would do their rounds. So they would usually be there, and where we were at the time, we were in neuro ICU, and in those rooms, they didn't have doors. They just had a curtain that separated. So they would stand outside the curtain, and I would always record whatever the doctors were saying. And once or twice, some of the doctors would come in because they wanted to have further discussion on where they were and what they were doing. And one doctor in particular, and the Lord, he really reprimanded me on that. There was one doctor in particular that, as he began to talk, he said something that made me know he is not believing that there is recovery on the way.
Okay.
And as he was talking, he said 3 words. When he said quality of life, I didn't want to have any more discussion with him, you know. And I remembered from my classes that when you're finished with the discussion, you stand. We were sitting. He said that, and I stood up. And he says, "Did you understand what I said?" I said, "I heard what you said. Do you have any questions?" "No, I do not." "Okay, thank you, Mrs. Thorne." And he walked out. And immediately when he walked out, I ran to my husband and I whispered in his ear. I said, "Don't you listen to what that doctor said. Don't pay attention to what that doctor said. He does not know our God." And I was very careful, to your point, as to what doctors came in. After that, I was real careful. I was also very careful about what people came to visit. There were some people that, nah, love you, but no.
You can wait.
You can wait. You can wait. Unless you came in there with faith, unless you came in there believing despite what you saw. Because see, this is the thing. One of my good girlfriends, she said to me, "Darlene, when I would ask you, well, how is Kevin doing?" I said, "He is doing so much better today." And I would, describe certain things that were happening. But when you would look at him, sit up there. When you would look at him, oh, let me get you. He's here tearing up. Let me get you a tissue. Let me go to get you a tissue. I'm going to get you a tissue, okay? Right. Give me a second.
Pastor Kevin, do you remember any of this time?
Some of the stuff I don't remember at all.
Okay. Yeah, some of the things he doesn't remember. But one of my friends, she came in the hospital, and Kevin had a tube, a small thin tube that was at the top of his head, and it went into this bag that collected the fluid, because when you have a brain bleed, there was a blood vessel that burst. And your brain is in a liquid sac. So the liquid sac is supposed to be there, but the blood's not supposed to be there. So when the blood vessel burst, they had to get all the fluid and all of that out. And so he's laying in the bed while this is happening. And my good girlfriend, when I told her what was going on, I said, "He's doing better, and this is happening, that's happening." And I'm telling her all the things that were going on. And she's looking at him, and she said, "Well, thank God that God is faithful and he's able to do it." And she told me after he came home, and I'm so glad she told me after. She said, "I was looking in that bed and I wasn't seeing nobody do anything. I didn't see anything moving. I didn't see anything. But what I did see and what I heard was your faith." So I came in agreement with your faith despite what I saw. And that was such a blessing to me, because she recognized that it's really not about what you see. Faith is not what you see, because the scripture truly says faith is the substance of things hoped for. That's right. The evidence of things that are not seen, because you couldn't see. Let me tell you, even when the doctors would come in, they would come in and they would say, Mr. Thorne, would you please, can you move your foot? Can you move your fingers? And I really think, now that I think back to it, I just think you were playing around with them, because when they were not in the room, he would move his fingers, he would move his toes, he would move his knee, and he would move around. And I would tell them, I said, he moves. And they're like, yeah.
but we don't have very many arguments, and I don't say that from a standpoint of braggadocious, but I'm saying that because what I've learned over 23 years is that the communication is just like, it sounds so cliche-ish, but it's important.
It's
Like
very
how you talk to one another, and so we do counseling, as an assistant pastor and minister and everything like that. My wife is also an elder; she's an ordained minister, and we do a lot of counseling and talking to couples and things of that nature. And one of the things that I just wish I could get across to people is that your spouse is not your enemy.
Yes.
Like, your spouse is not your enemy. Just because you have some issues or some mountains or some challenges that you need to get over or get through, it is having that understanding that this person is with you, going through the same thing, trying to get to the same place, but we're getting there together. And I think too often what I see is people begin to turn on one another.
Yes.
Not realizing that your spouse is, you become one flesh when you get married.
Yes.
You become one. And so if I'm forever trying to drive home the point that if you can see the challenge from the other person's perspective, that's like half the battle. If I put myself in your shoes for 5 minutes, that understanding carries me a long way. Proverbs talks about how a house is built through wisdom, right? And then it's established through understanding. So it's like you have to have the wisdom to be able to have the conversation and then understand where the other person is coming from, understand their perspective. Then that house is resting on a real sure foundation because you have an understanding. And a lot of times we're so busy talking at one another that we're not taking the time to understand where that person is coming from.
Yeah.
And to give it its proper due, like respect. Like, respect what I'm saying to you.
Yeah.
Like, don't discredit or discount what I'm saying because it's not what you feel. It's like, I gotta, try to see this from her standpoint. And it makes sense. If I'm in your shoes, I probably do the exact same thing you're doing. So let me change what I need to change about me so that you can make the adjustments you need to make.
Yeah.
And so we can do this thing together.
Yeah. Communication is definitely key. And I've learned being married to my husband, we think that they're automatically supposed to know how we're feeling. But if we don't express that to them, they don't know. They don't know that we're irritated. And because we held it in for so long, and then when we finally do, we explode. And your husband looking at you like, what the heck just happened?
Like, what in the world?
What is wrong with you?
Right. So I'm like, you can't expect your husband or your spouse, not even your husband, your spouse. You can't expect your spouse to know how you're feeling or what you're dealing with if you never express it to them. So you have to effectively communicate. And when I say effective, like he said, you have to listen to what they're saying, not listen to them and let them finish their sentence.
Yeah, right.
Not trying to
Make
your point before they can even finish their statement. Like really listening to what your spouse is saying.
Yeah.
That's something that I teach my clients. When I work with my clients, when I'm working with a couple, I let them know, listen, when you're in a discussion, you need to let the other person have their moment. If you feel like they talk too long, use a timer.
Yeah.
Everybody has the same set time for how long you can say whatever it is that you need to say. After that timer is over, stop. Let the other person answer. But while they're talking, you need to open your ears and listen. Do not formulate an answer in your mind, a rebuttal, nothing. Don't do that. Purely listen to what they're saying. Because that's when you get to the root of the problem.
Yes.
By hearing.
Yes.
Absolutely. One of the most important things in our love experience that I think that's benefited us greatly is, besides the fact that Crystal's just a great person, like, I don't, sometimes I feel bad when I'm counseling and talking to people because I don't really have a lot of the issues that some of the people bring to me because Crystal is such a chill, light, laid back It takes a whole lot
until
to
you
like
cross, until you cross.
then once you cross it, like you know, there's a line of demarcation, right? Once you cross it and she puts you in that box, okay.
That's
She
it.
might smile at you, but you in that box. But it takes a lot to get there, right? You really got to screw up to get this woman on your, you know, to put you in that box. You got to do a lot. And you know, we try our best to make sure that we not only support one another in the things that we're doing. I have a jazz circuit that's called Jazz on J Street that she named it, you know, that it's a gospel jazz group that we have. We've done concerts when we sold out certain places and things of that nature. But I brought an idea to the table and my helpmate finished it. Like she and the scripture came alive that, you know, she's my help me, and that my job as a visionary is to bring something to the table for her to work with. And what I think a lot of brothers don't understand is that if you don't bring something to the table, your help just is like, what am I here to help you with? Like, I don't have nothing, because, you know, something has to be in you for you to lay on the table, for her to take that and say, okay, I got this, I got that, right? I brought it was her that really, I had lost my sister in 2008. I was feeling really depressed. She knows that I love jazz. One of my favorite artists was in town. She went and got tickets, didn't tell me. She just told me the night of the concert. She's like, "Hey, get up, get dressed. We're going to see your guy." We went. I was like, "What? Are you serious?" She's like, "Yeah." We went to Reed Temple. We heard Kirk Whalum's jazz, gospel according to jazz, and I was just in the floor. Like, let alone that the concert ministered to me. It was just the idea that she understood where I was, knew that I needed something. She knew me enough to know what was going to pick me up off the floor, and she got it, and she laid it all out, and she worked out all the details, and we had a great night. And it was at that concert that I got the vision for Jazz on J Street, because I saw in front of me what I always wanted to do with my music. And because of that act of love towards me, I got the vision for what it was God had given me to do on a smaller level. And once I gave her the idea, man, I said, man, I could get my guys together. We could do something like this. She was like, yep, yes, you can. And here's what you're going to call it. She gave me the name. She worked out the venues for our first concert. She put the whole thing together. I didn't do nothing but focus on the music. And what I'm saying to brothers is sometimes your marriage is frustrated because you're not laying your vision on the table. For her to take it and do what God designed her to do, which is to help Adam tend this garden, take care of this Eden that I gave you, right? And so she makes my home Eden every day. Like, you know, she makes the house a home. And it is the grace of God that, because I don't deserve her. I mean, that's a big part of the love experience, is the fact that that's the grace of God, is that he will give you what you don't deserve. But it is for you to, once he gives you what you don't deserve, to recognize it, right? And create an atmosphere of protection around it so that she can continue to do what God designed her to do. And so every time I bring something to the table and I ask for her idea, she doesn't bring me just one idea. She gives me several ideas as to how we can do this. And that's what I you know, one of the things in our love experience that I love the most about her, I know I'm rambling, but I love her because she takes that thing that God gave me and she puts it in position for it to grow and do what it is that God designed for it to do. And so I'm always trying to tell brothers, first thing I want to ask you is, you know, have you figured out that purpose for your life, right? God's purpose for your life. Because once you figure that out, then your spouse has a better idea of about her importance in that picture. Like, she doesn't just want to be outside of what it is you're doing. She needs to be intimately involved in what you're doing, because your big head just know you want to go do it, but she's going to bring that grunt work that's going to say, okay, but here's how you're going to do it. So she works out.
Yeah.
That's why she pays the bills here and I don't. I bring my check. The check goes into the bank account, and she gives me a layout every Friday of what's been paid.
There you go.
You know, and I think that's also important too, because you know, some people have it to where, you know, I've heard that men are to handle everything. The wives do this. You're supposed to do this, do that, A, B, and C. I know, you know, because I know for a little while it bothered him because I made more money than him.
Oh yeah, man.
But that didn't mean that he still was not the head of my household.
Right.
That didn't mean that he was not still my covering. And that's what I try to tell people. Just because I make more money, he is still the king of this house. I am still going to respect him. Money doesn't change that. It does not.
Y'all see why I love it? You see, actually, you see what I'm talking about?
So y'all just came, like, opened up a whole different can of worms that I really want to dive into, but I don't think we got enough time to get into all of it.
You know, and you have to have that mindset that this is our money, not mine. We have separate accounts. We have separate accounts, but he has access to my account, and I have access to his. This is our money. This is our bills. There's no such thing as 50-50. It's 100-100.
Oh yes. So I want to jump in for a second, because sitting back and observing what you guys are saying, and really, I'm really sitting here visualizing it. I'm a seer, so I'm visualizing it. And one thing that is popping out to me, Jason, when you said you don't deserve Crystal, but this is the thing, I'm seeing it differently. Both of you have proved yourselves to each other. So this thing is coming easy for you to be able to say, you know what, you can take the bills, you take the money, pay the bills. She proved to you that she can handle that. And you proved to her that she can handle what she's going to give you, because you started with her daughter.
Yes.
There are not, my hand is to God. There are not many women who will take their little baby and let the guy that they're seeing watch their baby. And there's a whole lot of reasons why.
Yes.
But the fact that she did that speaks volumes.
You're
right.
You're telling the truth. I mean, you know, it took me a minute to even make the suggestion, because I understand exactly what you're saying. There's a lot of valid reasons why that doesn't happen. And you know, I remember that season of my life when we were in a relationship, and when I wanted to cross that bridge, it was because I began to understand my position in Crystal's life and why God brought me into her life. She needed covering and she needed protection, and she needed to understand that there was somebody out here who did not want anything from her other than just the natural being in your company, just loving you as a person. There were no ulterior motives. It wasn't, I'm not trying to get in your pants. It's none of that stuff. It is, I see you. Right? Like, I see you.
There may be some support that you need to have with these people, with other people on. So don't forget to invite others on the ride. Like, they could be part of the ride. They could be your support system. They could be your cheerleaders. They could be your pushers. They could be your whatever you need them to be. Or they may be part of your journey. As in, like, you guys are going to end up in the same place. Do not forget to invite people. If you hear God telling you to call so-and-so up so that you guys can do this together, Or he may not say do it together, but he might tell you to call somebody up so that you guys can celebrate this thing together. Then that's what you need to do. You don't want to let anybody miss out on what is happening in your life, especially if you're supposed to be sharing it with them. And you might be somebody's support system. So don't forget to invite them for the ride, okay? I have people on my ride, and it's fun having people on this ride because those journeys before were lonely journeys. So I'm glad I have these people on the ride with me. I'm glad. I'm happy that I'm happy that they're there with me. We got our arms linked. Like we're good. So enjoy the ride. Matter of fact, 2 people that are on at least part of my journey with me, Jessica and Jasmine, the ones that I'm doing the Building Your Love Empire conference with on June 24th and 25th. They are part of my ride. I have linked up with them. They are part of my ride. So you need to invite people on the ride with you. If I did not link up with them, this journey that I've been on, this ride I've been on, I still would have been on the journey, but it would have took a little bit longer because I was very stubborn, and they helped push me, kick me in my butt, and get me to where I am now. So you need people like that. You need some people that's going to be riders for you. You need people like that, okay? Listen, y'all, don't forget to put your comments, questions, or whatever in the comments section, and because, you know, I like to chit-chat with you, okay? All right, last but not least, while you're on this ride, expect some surprises, some miracles, elevations, and you don't want to forget about the valleys and the bumps. All of that is going to be on your ride. It is not going to be a short path. It is not going to be smooth sailing. It's not. I'm just telling you, it won't be. Okay. So some surprises that you can expect is maybe because of your obedience, some type of reward coming your way that you didn't even account for, didn't think was going to happen. Okay. It could be maybe somebody sends you a check, or a company sends you a check, and it's an unexpected check, but it's a check that's right on time. Expect surprises. Expect some miracles. God, when we are obedient, He will move mountains for us. He will. That mountain, that thing that has been standing in your way, and you feel like you've been breaking away at it, chopping it down, trying to, but it's not going anywhere. When you align with Him, He is going to create miracles for you. He is. And they could be very small miracles. Do not neglect those, because they're still miracles. There's still things like Him making a way that you never thought about He would be able to make, or never thought you could get to a point that this thing, you could get around this mountain instead of trying to bulldoze through it. Expect miracles and expect elevation, because as you are going on this journey, you better believe you are going to be elevated. You are, whatever your calling, your purpose is in life, whatever it may be, you are going to be elevated in that purpose. Elevated little by little, or however God sees fit. There will be elevations. Okay? So don't despite small beginnings. You don't want to despite your small beginnings, okay? You just don't. All right. What else? And then just like you have the good things happening, the things that we deem are good, you're going to have those trouble spots, those rough spots where you once you were in the elevation, you might feel like you are in the valley a little while after that. You might feel like there's a low happening in your life. You may just feel like that. But it's all part of the journey. It's all part of the learning curve. So in my subdivision where we live, we have speed bumps. And once we get over the speed bumps, we get on our street, it's smooth sailing. Accept those speed bumps to slow you down. Because sometimes we could be moving so fast that there is something that God wants us to see, and we miss it because we're speeding by. So he's going to throw a speed bump in your way to slow you down. You're going to have to go with it. You're going to have to accept that speed bump. And guess what? It's okay. It's okay to have those speed bumps, because now you'll know, okay, let me not take this too fast. Let me slow it down a little bit. There may be, you may be speeding on to get to your destination, and he's like, you ain't ready yet. You're not ready yet. Let me slow you down. And he's going to throw a speed bump in the road for you to slow down. So those are my tips. I really felt like I needed to talk about enjoying the ride. You have to enjoy it. You have to. This ride is for eternity. And what I mean is this part of the ride may be short compared to the ride you're going to go on after this life. So this ride, you need to enjoy it. Relax. Don't elevate your blood pressure. Don't be stressed out by it. Relax and enjoy the ride. And I am talking to you as someone who knows. I had to learn how to relax and just let God do it. Let God run the way he needs to run things. Not the way Ashley wants him to run it. Because what I'm learning is he can do it so much better than I can. He can. So I'm letting go. I'm doing everything that I just told you guys about. I'm letting go and enjoying the ride. I'm letting him take over. He is the driver. I am in the back seat, and he is taking control and taking me where he needs me to go. And I'm loving every minute of it. And it's exciting. The ride doesn't have to be something that you're ashamed of. It's exciting. So again, if you guys have any questions or comments, go ahead and put them in the chat. Thank you for listening to me. And my mom is on here, y'all. So can we say a big happy birthday to her? Happy birthday, mommy. I hope you enjoyed your day. And I hope you did something that was fun and for you today on your special day. All right, guys, if you don't have anything, I'm going to wait a second. Again, do not forget to purchase your Love Experience gear from itsashleyj.com. And if you are watching this now or you're going to watch the replay later, listen, I'm not going to say if. You need to be a guest on the Love Experience show, be a guest. Everybody has some sort of experience with love. And as I tell you guys all the time, it does not have to be a fairy tale love story. My love stories are not fairy tales. Okay? It does not have to be a fairy tale love story. Just share your experience. Talk about the time you thought you were in love. I don't mind. I want that, actually. So come on, be a guest on the Love Experience. Reach out to me in my inbox, DM me, or email me at Ashley. My email is ashley@itsashleyj.com. So I appreciate you guys watching, listening, whatever you were doing. And don't forget to enjoy the ride. Don't forget to purchase your tickets for the Building Your Love Experience. I just gave it a whole new name. Building Your Love Empire Conference coming June 24th and 25th. Spread the word to your church, your women's group at church, people that you know. Spread the word so everyone can be part of that conference. Tickets are not expensive. So you can come on and be part of it, okay? And it's going to be myself, Jasmine Dash, and Jessica McNeil. We are your speakers and facilitators of the conference. And I only have one thing left for you. What is your love experience? Until I chat with you guys next week. Bye.